What's going on, folks? Ted from Immersion here, and several of you have asked a bunch of questions regarding the new monster manual, so I thought I would try to get a couple of the common questions out of the way up front. So, with that, let's just talk. And reminder, I cannot show you anything, but I can discuss it. So let's go ahead and talk about some things you can expect. First of all, what is the sort of little tagline that you get inside the two different monster manuals? It lists both the standard. So on the cover for the standard edition, it says, on this cover, Tyler Jacobson adventures, by Tyler Jacobson, rather, adventurers Vajra Safar and Minsk test their mettle against a beholder and its horde of horrors. Will they prove themselves heroes or lunch? And the alt cover says, got something on your mind? A Mind Flayer offers one of its brain-consuming brood as an alternative in this aberrant illustration by Olena Richards. Now, a lot of people asked, is there rules for creating a monster? And the answer is no. What you have basically is your intro bit called How to Use a Monster, which is going to kind of dissect the anatomy of a stat block, talk about, what's in a stat block, parts of it, and then a general concept of how you run a monster. There's not very much, right? We're talking this whole section is less than 10 pages, and some of that is kind of just like the generic sort of breakdown they've done, where they'll show it and they'll have like the number off to the side that kind of explains, okay, this is the name, this is the combat highlights, and so on. As far as actually running a monster, it is a sidebar, and it says, to ensure a monster acts in accordance with its challenge rating, follow these rules during combat. If the monster has a special ability that deals a lot of damage but has limited number of uses, such as a recharging breath weapon, have it use that ability as quickly and as often as possible. If the monster has multi-attack, have it use multi-attack on any of its turns in which it's not using a more powerful ability, again, like a breath weapon. And then bonus actions, reactions, legendary actions. If the monster has bonus actions, reactions, or legendary actions in its stat block, make sure it uses those as often as it can. That's essentially the extent of your running a monster stat block. And then it will define the different uses of actions and things like that. And then it basically kind of just rolls into the monster list. Now, you basically, as I've stated in previous videos, but I'll reiterate it here, the breakdown in how things are is much more alphabetical, if you will, in that, like, you're not going to have G for gelatinous cube, or, gelatinous cube will be under G as opposed to being under O for ooze. Chain Devil will be under C for Chain Devil as opposed to being under D for all devils. That is also the case when it comes to NPCs. NPCs are no longer sequestered into an appendices. They are scattered throughout the document. So guard, knight, veteran, all of those things, they'll be contained under those sections. So just looking at, say, guard, for example. Let me see what it is exactly. We have guard and guard captain will both be under G inside the overall monsters A to Z section of the monster manual. Appendices A, or Appendix A rather, is just animals. These are primarily beast types, the kind of things you're going to be able to transform into Are You a Druid? However, there are some other things in there that are not beasts, like celestials and monstrosities. And then Appendix B is monster lists. First will be the monster conversions table, which I will do a separate video on. And then there's also monsters listed by habitat, monsters by creature type, monsters by group, and then monsters by challenge rating. So we do have several different options for tracking and, utilizing the monsters. And then at the end, at the start, you do have the kind of index of appendices, or of all the stat blocks, rather. So then we can actually get a pretty good idea by looking at the monsters by challenge rating section to know exactly how many creatures we have of each challenge rating, going as low as CR0 and as high as CR30, being the Tarrasque, which we all knew. I will do a separate video where I break down the number of monsters by each challenge rating, so you can get an idea of what that looks like as far as the breadth throughout this, because we also have the stat block of monsters by type, we'll be able to say, okay, how many giants are there? How many fiends are there? How many plants are there? We will do that video. And then again, monsters by group. This is, and I can kind of just discuss this real quick here. Monsters by group are sort of subtypes, if you will. So angels is a subtype of celestial. Beholders is a subtype of aberrations. Obviously, demons and devils are subtypes of fiends. We have dinosaurs as a subtype of beasts. The chromatic and metallic as the subtypes of dragons. Genies being a subtype of elemental. Goblinoids being a subtype of fae now. Lycanthropes being a subtype of monstrosities. Titans being a subtype of large, higher scale creatures, things like the Kraken, Tarask, and so on. And Yugoloths also being a subtype of fiend. So I will put these all into spreadsheets to kind of give you just that quick breakdown so you'll know, okay, there's exactly, I'm pulling a number out of the air here, but there's 20 aberrations, let's say. Okay, now you'll know that there's 20 aberrations as opposed to maybe like 10 giants or whatever it actually breaks down to be. I will put these into a spreadsheet. I will film those in another video. But I thought I would go over just very high-level overview of the monster manual, just letting you know some of the stuff that's in there and some of the stuff that's not in there, because some people I saw in my live stream asking questions like, oh, hey, is there a section about how to create a monster? No, that would be covered, technically it should be covered under the Dungeon Master's Guide, not in the monster manual. Also, somebody had asked about sidekick rules. No, there are no sidekick rules. As a reminder, this is going to take every stat block that you had in the 2014 monster manual and transform or adjust it in some way. And then, again, you're going to have additions here. When I talked about monster conversions as being part of Appendices B, this is not like how to convert a different monster from something outside of the monster manual, like something from Monsters in the Multiverse or something. It's not a conversion for that. Monster conversions is because, as we've discussed, some creatures are no longer classified as they were in 2014. For example, most kind of what were things like elf or drow or dwergar or orc are no longer called out as a separate monster. Those have been now kind of converted and matriculated and added into the various NPC categories like performers, like guards, and so on. So that's what the monster conversion list is. For others, it is just giving you a direct correlation. So like Aarakocra is now Aarakocra Skirmisher because there's a different kind of Aarakocra. So you're going to see a lot of that. Gnoll is Gnoll Warrior, Goblin is Goblin Warrior. I would do a full video on this in the future, but just wanted to give you an idea that it's not like some great table that's going to allow you to, oh, okay, this is how we convert this to this. It's not that. But an example would be a orc, which was its own stat block in 2014, is converted to the tough stat block in 2025 Monster Manual, which is essentially the group of individuals who are tough kind of NPC humanoid types. But it's not just, it couldn't just be an orc now, it could be an orc, it could be an elf, could be a human. It's that stat block has been recycled and reused as the new tough stat block. Just to give you an idea, for example, the drow, what was the drow in 2025 is now the equivalent of the priest acolyte NPC kind of stat block contained in this monster manual. Again, I don't know how easy that's going to be to explain without actually being able to show you all of it, but I will do a full just kind of walkthrough of the monster list conversion. Again, like I said, some of these are as simple as changing a name by adding something, like Cult Fanatic is now Cultist Fanatic. Not a huge change, but an adjustment, right? And like Fairy Dragon used to have, you know, different colors associated with them because they go through the colors of the rainbow. You now have Fairy Dragon Adult, which would cover a green, blue, indigo, or violet Fairy Dragon in the past, versus a Fairy Dragon Youth, which was red, orange, or yellow. Again, I will go over this in full in a future video, but just to give you an idea of what we're talking about. Hopefully this helps clarify and helps inform questions you may have in the future. And again, continue to you can leave comments on this video or that other video, and I will continue to address those with more videos as time goes on. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.